A Republican just lost his seat to a Democrat in Iowa, in the Iowa Senate. And usually we wouldn't care much about what one Senate seat in a random red state means, but this one is a bit scary. And Republicans cannot be complacent. I think this has a lot to do with the midterms. Here are the election results. You can see right here. They're not good. Christopher Prosh, I believe is his name, lost by 9% to Caitlin Dray. And what you see at the bottom of this, and this is the real big problem, I mean, this is what's actually scary, is that Trump won this particular area by 11.5% just less than a year ago, in November. So we're talking 9 months ago. Trump won this by 11.5%, and today Dray, who is a Democrat, won by 9%. That's a 21% shift in in a Trump-controlled state Senate district. And I think that's very, very scary. And we're going to break it down because it means Democrats could totally win the midterms if they play their cards like they did here. And if Republicans conversely do absolutely nothing, which we'll talk about, then yeah, we could totally lose the midterms. Republicans could totally lose. Conservatives would be down and out 2 years after Trump had a massive victory over Kamala Harris and Democrats. If you look right now at Trump's approval rating, it's actually quite good. It's like really good. Some would say it's close to 50% if you look at those polls. Some are saying it's, closer down to 37. If you look right now, the average is around 46%, which is pretty solid. But this new poll from the AP is actually the best poll in my opinion. And I'll tell you why. What you're seeing here is that Trump is at 45% approval rating. And you're thinking, okay, 45%, not that good. I mean, it's middle of the line. It's not what Joe Biden was at. Joe Biden was at like 36%, so it's a lot better than that. But 45% is something special. But what you see at the bottom is that this is Trump's highest approval rating ever by this AP NORC poll, including his first term. And that's a huge deal. And this brings me to my kind of rule about polls, because I have a lot of people in the comments saying, look, Josh, the polls don't really matter. And I get that. I mean, there's a lot of polls that are inaccurate. I think there are some that are actually quite accurate. They certainly have a incentive to try to be accurate. Otherwise, no one trusts them. But even if the polls aren't accurate, this is my philosophy with it. I don't know if the 45% in this particular poll is really accurate. I don't know if 45% exactly in America support Donald Trump. It could be much higher. In fact, it probably is, if we're being honest. But I do trust the momentum of the polls that we get from the same pollsters, meaning if today the AP gets a 45% for Trump, and in a week we get a 47% approval rating for Trump, and then in 2 weeks we get a 48 or 49% approval for Trump, we can see that the momentum is with Trump. Now, we don't know exactly what the numbers are. Again, I'm not saying the numbers are exactly right, but what we can see is that the same pollster using the same methods is getting better numbers for Donald Trump over time. And that's a good thing. This is the method that I used in 2024 to make my election predictions. And to be honest, my prediction was pretty dang close. It was pretty good. I predicted he would take the popular vote. I was right about all the states except Nevada because, again, we had some faulty pollsters there, and that was a little bit difficult. But I used this to see the momentum, and the momentum was clearly with Donald Trump in 2024. And so, again, even though 45%, maybe not that high, the fact that it's the best ever for Donald Trump for the AP is very good news. Now, where does this all tie in to the Iowa special election? How does a district that goes Trump plus 11 go Democrat plus 9 just less than 1 year later? 9 months is not a lot of time. It's just 9. The unfortunate truth is Trump has a much higher approval rating than the Republican Party. That's just the truth. And we've seen that over the literally since he got, he took the limelight in 2016. Right now, the Republican Party approval is sitting in the high 30s, which is way better than Democrats. Democrats are sitting at like 19 to 25%. Republican Party's around 36, 37%. And Trump, on average, is in the high 40s. And so Trump is way outperforming Republicans, just at large. One of the most remarkable things about Trump is that his approval floor is much higher than your traditional politician. A lot of politicians, they've got a floor, right? They've got a base that's never going to change. And the remarkable thing about Trump is that he's locked in this MAGA base that's just not going anywhere. And that MAGA base is quite big. It seems about 37% maybe of Americans by the data are solid MAGA, meaning Trump's just not going to have polls lower than that. That is his base. And 37 might sound low, but it's actually quite high. It's very good. The floor for a random Republican candidate right now is like 0% plus their friends and family, maybe. So 1%. And I think that was true for this Republican in Iowa. That's why the loss in Iowa happened. Democrats are obviously very happy about this. Ken Martin, he's the chair of the DNC, he sent out a statement. This is what he said. He said, quote, Iowans are seeing Republicans for who they are, self-serving liars who will throw their constituents under the bus to rubber stamp Donald Trump's disastrous agenda, and they're ready for a change. So those are fighting words from Ken Martin. So much for being a uniter. I mean, straight up says self-serving liars. It's a little intense, again, for a DNC chair who's supposedly supposed to be bringing more people in. I don't think Republicans are going to be incentivized to vote Democrat when they're called self-serving liars. In any case, Democrats are vicious. They're happy about this Republican blunder, which it is. This is a statement from the Iowa GOP chairman, Jeff Kaufman, and it's ridiculous. This is what he said. He said it on X. He said, National Democrats were so desperate for a win that they activated 30,000 volunteers and a flood of national money to win a state Senate special election by a few hundred votes. There's only a few hundred, there's a few thousand people in this district. It's not a large district. So he says a few hundred votes. That is significant. He then continues. He says, if the Democrats think things are suddenly so great again for them in Iowa, they will bring back the caucuses. Now, this is not taking responsibility. Jeff should 100% get fired, in my opinion. This is like Ronna McDaniel. I don't know if you remember Ronna McDaniel. She was the GOP chair after Trump won and then proceeded to lose every single freaking election until she was ousted in, I think, 2023 when the Trump family took over and then Trump won again. So she was a horrible, horrible GOP chairman. She was the national chairman. And this reeks of Ronna McDaniel, in my opinion. He didn't take responsibility. He essentially admitted that he got overworked. I mean, he literally says National Democrats were so desperate for a win, they activated 30,000 volunteers. Well, dude, where were the 30,000 Republican volunteers? Like, that's what you do. That's your whole job, dude. It's not like this is the national chair. I'm not saying the national chair should get fired for what happened in Iowa, but he is the Iowa GOP chairman. This was a special election, meaning it was the only one going on. This isn't like the normal elections were going on as the midterms. We won some, we lost some. I couldn't win them all. That's fair. But this is the only election going on, and you failed miserably, and your excuse is, oh, they just had a lot of volunteers and a lot of money. That's your whole job as a chairman, is to have volunteers and money, dude. So it doesn't matter how small an election is. There has to be consequences. So he should get fired. I'm not saying that the Republican Party should just unload millions of dollars in a random district in Iowa. You have to be smart about your money. I understand that. But the ground game was not there for Republicans. It was there for Democrats. That's why they won. And what I'm hearing from the Iowa Republican Party is just weak sauce. Plain and simple, it's weak sauce. And this leads to what I'm nervous about for the midterms. The Republican Party cannot have that attitude for the midterms. Again, he should get fired, 100%. And if that was the national chair, like Ronna McDaniel, they should get fired too. Because a 21-point swing, I just can't get over that number. It's massive. That is so big. A 21-point swing would move most districts in the country to Democrats in the midterms. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying if that's what we're up against, if that's how poor the Republican Party wants to do, then every single district in this country is a swing district. Anything could happen. It doesn't matter that Trump won that district by 11% or 15% or 20%. If you don't do anything to campaign, you will lose. That's what happened in Iowa just now. We'll see if Republicans will learn their lesson in the midterms. The Josh Carr Show is now on We the Free. We the Free is a conservative streaming platform. Don't support the liberal ones. They don't have your best intentions at heart. They use money to create woke crap. That does not happen on We the Free. We the Free has political commentary. It also has a ton of Second Amendment content that is absolutely fantastic. Go check it out right now. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this episode, everybody. Please like the video so that other great patriots will see it and big tech will actually share it and it won't censor it. And you can check out the show every single weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can watch another video right here.